Hi, I'm Greg Hunter, and this is the weekly news wrap-up for Friday, January 27th, 2012. Big announcement out of the Federal Reserve this week. They decided to keep a key interest rate at near 0% for another year. Now, near 0% interest rates until 2014, actually through 2014. I thought we had a recovery. Well, it doesn't look like the recovery is going so well if they are extending giving away money for nothing. Also, Ben Bernanke said that he's thinking about, having more stimulus. And, one market expert said, looks like Ben Bernanke's finger is on the trigger for more quantitative easing. That's money printing to me and you. Next up, Barack Obama's State of the Union address, his third one. And, I think the State of the Union address by the president is marked more by what he didn't say than what he did say. I mean, we have massive amounts of alleged fraud in securities, in mortgages, and in foreclosures from coast to coast, and nothing's being done about that. The only thing that's being done about that is some agreement that's coming up with state AGs and also the federal government that will basically let the biggest banks off for all this tomfoolery and all this fraud with a slap on the wrist and a $25 billion fine. Yeah, that's about it. It's unbelievable. I don't see how the economy ever gets better if people in the financial system can allegedly commit fraud, and just as long as they give equal amounts of money to Democrats and Republicans, well, everything's okay, no problem. We don't want to hurt the economy. I don't think the economy will ever get better without confidence in the system and without there being some real regulators on the beat. I just don't see how it gets done. Next up, George Soros, and I want to spend some time on this. Billionaire investor George Soros, just before he left for the Davos, Switzerland, Economic Council 2012, meeting they have over there, he said some super dark comments. I mean, he said he was worried about his survival, not about making money, about his survival. He said this is one of the most dangerous periods in modern history, the one we're in right now. He was lamenting, about possible collapse of the system, about riots in the European Union and also the United States, and a repression of civil liberties. Folks, to me, I don't see how George Soros is gaining anything by saying this. I think the man is genuinely scared. And please keep in mind, whether you like him or not, this is a connected guy. What's he hearing from his connections? There's probably only 200-300 people in the world that have his kind of wealth. He's a billionaire. And so if he's genuinely scared and worried about his survival, I think you should pay attention to what he's saying. I think he's, basically giving us a big tip-off of what he thinks could be coming down the pipe. And there's no wonder why he may think that, because not only the economy is shaking with all this debt in Europe and with all the goings-on here in the United States, with all the debt, the MF Global bankruptcy, and the banks fighting to stay solvent. Also, the European banks are fighting to stay solvent, and the Federal Reserve is doing what it's doing, I think, to keep the banks from imploding. Not only here in the U.S., but over in Europe. We have this big currency swap going on between the U.S. and the European Union. We're actually bailing them out, at least according to one Federal Reserve or former Federal Reserve vice president from Dallas. But, listen, if you take a look at the geopolitical concerns, and let's just start with the small issues that are big. Egypt. Revolution in Egypt is not going away. It's getting worse. Some of the folks over there say that they're basically starting all over again. The military took control after Mubarak was forced out of power, and they don't want to give up control. Wow, surprise. They're also holding about a half a dozen Americans over there who are working on democracy. The U.S. State Department is outraged, as it should be. Also, revolution in Syria, getting worse, not getting better. Fighting getting closer to the capital, Damascus. The Arab League has asked the President Assad, to step down. Don't think that's going to happen. And then we'll move on to the granddaddy of geopolitical concerns, and that's Iran. I mean, last week they said they were, threatening to torpedo an aircraft carrier, and they have the technology to sink an aircraft carrier, a U.S. aircraft carrier. They've got these the torpedoes that travel a couple hundred miles an hour under the water. They also have some pretty solid missiles from, these are from Russia and from China that can also sink an aircraft carrier. They're big missiles that, don't cost much relative to, a $13-15 billion aircraft carrier. They also are threatening the Iranians to close the Strait of Hormuz again. Another threat this week, again, about closing the strait, which would crush the world economy. The European Union has decided to boycott Iranian oil. The things going on over the Middle East are weird and frightening at the same time. India has now decided to trade gold for Iranian oil. China may follow suit. China is also basically contracting with oil tankers to get Iranian oil. So much for the embargo. This is a situation that could get out of control. I mean, you could wake up one morning and be wishing you filled up your gas tank the night before. I've said that before. I'll say it again. I mean, overnight oil could go to what, $200 a barrel? What does that mean to you? Take a look at your gas pump and double the price. If war breaks out and the strait is closed or the oil is restricted, you can bet a daisy chain of defaults and some real calamity that will happen around the globe, particularly in Europe and the United States of America. Now, one other last thing I wanted to talk about, and this is on my site, the former commodity dealer and broker, Ann Barnhart, who had her own commodity brokerage business, she shut her commodity brokerage business down after the bankruptcy of MF Global. MF Global went bankrupt on Halloween of last year. So that's kind of a weird thing, isn't it? Weird coincidence. Halloween, MF Global, the 8th biggest bankruptcy in the country. Well, she said there's no way that she could guarantee the safety of her clients' money, that the same thing could happen to her clients that happened to MF Global. Clients with MF Global had about $1 billion taken away from them. They still don't have it. They call it missing funds. Ann Barnhart calls it just outright theft. She says that the reason why that the Chicago Mercantile Exchange didn't backstop MF Global, and they have an $8 billion insurance fund, is because she says, now remember, she is a broker and a commodities dealer, she was, and she's been doing that for several years. And she says, listen, everybody in the business knows that other commodity brokers are doing the exact same thing that MF Global was doing before they went bankrupt. And she says it's not a matter of when it falls, if it falls, the economy, the system, it's a matter of when. And she thinks the entire system is on borrowed time. That's pretty startling from someone who is basically an insider in the financial world, not an outsider, not somebody like me, a journalist, but this is somebody who actually was a commodities dealer and knows how the system works. She says that the CME didn't backstop and make MF Global go away because they're afraid that, well, everybody's doing it and they would be bankrupt in a hurry if the system crashes. Or I should say, according to her, when the system crashes. And I want to close with gold. With the Fed announcement that they were going to keep interest rates at 0% and they were looking for more stimulus, according to Ben Bernanke, there's no wonder why gold jumped up this past week. And my only wonder is why it didn't jump up higher. And basically the Federal Reserve said, hey, we're going to keep interest rates at 0% because the economy's terrible, and we're also going to be really thinking about QE3. And I think Ben Bernanke made those statements because I think QE3, more money printing, more buying of this toxic debt, which the Federal Reserve has bought, $2.3 trillion of toxic debt. And this is mostly stuff that was rated AAA, equal to a treasury. And the Federal Reserve has $2.3 trillion of this stuff on its books. With all the things going on in the world, I'll tell you, gold is an insurance policy, and probably one that a lot of people should have. And if they don't have it, maybe they should be buying silver. I don't know. But both gold and silver went up this week and probably are going to go up much higher. That's the way I see it. I'm Greg Hunter. Thank you for supporting USAWatchdog.com.